Welcome to the podcast series dedicated to living a revenue culture. The pandemic reminded us that you got to make money in order to survive. But it really taught us that the way you make money is to optimize a people first culture. So this podcast is dedicated to putting those two things together. The fact if you're really going to be a profitable company, it's really about your people. And so today we're lucky to have Billy Shivers with us. And Billy is the owner and CEO of Sites USA. And Sites USA, I'm going to ask him in a few minutes to tell us about it because it's a cool company all by itself. But it's got a 30-year history, and Billy's really the new owner and CEO. So we're going to ask him to both tell you his journey to get there and also to share about Sites USA in just a second. But I've had a chance to work with Billy and before, because he's going to be humble, and I love that. But I've had the chance to watch him work with his team, and nobody I've ever seen cares more about his team and his customers than Billy does. So welcome, Billy.
Thank you, Rick. I'm excited to be here. If I seem nervous, it's because I am. I'm new to this whole thing, so bear with me. I hope that, I saw some of the previous guests, and a lot of them are people I look up to. So I hope that I can step up to the plate and bring some value here today.
Well, I have no doubt about that because, having had a chance to work together for, I guess, 3 or 4 years now, you step up to everything. And so with that, I'd love to have you share your background. And you can share as much of it as you would like. But I know one of the things in your world is you have brought some of your learnings from a very successful sports career into a business career. So you can start any place, but tell us, how did you get here and what drives you to be here?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very loaded. I could go back as far as, the soccer fields as a kid, but I think growing up, I wanted to be an NBA basketball player. That's for kids, that's an attainable goal. As you grow up, you realize that, the odds are a lot less than what people said in the early days. So I wanted to do that. And honestly, I really wasn't passionate about, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to go to law school, become a doctor, none of that. And so I played basketball at the University of Redlands, and it was a Division III program. So early on, I knew that, the NBA wasn't going to be my thing. I was always good with numbers. I loved computers. And so I fell into software engineering. And so I got a degree in computer science from the University of Redlands, played basketball there for 4 years. My one claim to fame is Dick Vitale said my name on national TV because I hit 17 threes in one game. So that was my 15 seconds of fame. So anyway,
nobody else gets to claim that.
So anyway, I was, I fell into the computer science. I was good at it. I really enjoyed it. And so that's how, I fell into the computer science world. So after college, we got to do a trip to Europe. Every player that plays at Redlands gets to take a trip to Europe and play. And so this was after my senior year. We played 4 games in Austria and Germany and Italy. And so coming back, I was, after that trip, it was just so much fun coming back, going home. I'm with my parents, and, I'm just kind of depressed, didn't know what I wanted to do, looking for a job. Everybody wanted experience and I didn't have any. So I moved to Phoenix, and I lived on my cousin's couch for a couple of weeks, did a couple interviews, couldn't find anything. And so I was actually getting ready to go home, and I got a call from Sites USA. And so this was back in 2004. And I came in for an interview, and I was looking for a programming job, and they didn't have one. So I basically came in fulfillment. We had to fulfill orders. And back in those days, it was desktop software, and we were packaging, 8 DVDs into a FedEx box and sending it out to all over the country. And so finally I got a programming job, and things just started to roll from there. Early on, I was put into a management position because my manager had left. And so I was responsible for everything software related. And we'll get into what Sites USA does in a bit. But so I went from software engineering, and then I joined a group, listened to your teaching, the revenue game. And I started to get really, really interested in, the sales and marketing side of business. And that's when the opportunity came up to buy the company, it was a no-brainer for me. And that's what I've always wanted. So I've been here for 17 years, and I've been the owner here since June. So it's a fresh thing for me.
Well, congratulations. So now tell us a little bit about, and Sites USA, you've had, 17 years. What is it today, and how did it get there? And I know you've got some things coming for tomorrow. So yes, give us some look at that.
So it really started back in, we started back in 1992. And this was a time when software wasn't really accessible to everybody. It was, if it was there, it was complicated. And in this industry, you needed a GIS degree. So we were built off of Map Info. And at the time it was, it was in probably universities all over the country, but it wasn't really made for retail and commercial real estate. And so what the founder did was he took that platform and he built these little plugins that made it simple to get from an address to a demographic report. It was 1, 2, 3 print. And really that's how it started. And he had some opportunities. He was in commercial real estate prior to that. And so he had a network of people that he presented this to. And that's how it got started. And in those days, it was a desktop product. And obviously since then, everything's in the cloud. And that's we've evolved from there and went from desktop to now a software as a service platform with annual subscriptions. So that's how it started. But really, we've really evolved and taking over ownership, you get to implement some of your own things. And one thing that I'm really excited about is just being so focused on the customer. And that I really think we are a customer service company that just happens to make great software. And we build some really, really loyal customers because of that mindset. And that's the business we're in. It's an annual subscription, and you really need, you need those 5, 6, 7 year partners, because a one and done never works. It doesn't work for either side.
Wow. So, one of the things that, that revenue science always talks about is that, when we think of a revenue culture, you talked about customer focus and your team, and we recognize that the culture you have includes your current employees and your future employees, your current customers and your future customers, and your current business partners and your future business partners. And so that long-term approach just makes such good sense. So, when you think about your business and you think about your customers, you think about your team, how do you tie those two things together? Because
it starts with the people here. And that's me in a nutshell, right? That's what if I start to go off on tangents about my people, stop me, because this is my passion right here. But it starts with the people here, and really what I'm learning, it's new. This has only been since June, since I've been in charge here, but we are at our best when I'm out of the way. And all I can do is provide an environment for my employees to succeed. And people have lives outside of here, and I like to create a space where people look forward to coming here. And I mean, to be honest, escaping, life at home, and so for 8 hours a day, you get to come here and you get to work for people that love what we do, love, supporting our communities and our customers. And I think I've just been so lucky with the people that I have here, and maybe that's something I'm doing right. Maybe it's just the people that I have, but you can't take care of customers if you don't take care of your employees first. And I think Sites USA has always done that. But now that it's my turn, I'm going to be very intentional about that. If you come to work for us, you're going to enjoy what you do, and we're going to give you a place to succeed.
I loved what you said about, you kind of being out of the way is when they do their best work. And our research says that that's the way it's supposed to be, that every organization, you and I've been in, many dozen, if not hundreds of Vistage meetings, and somebody's always going to talk about, well, we have to scale, or we have to be sustainable, or we have to be innovative. And it sounds like when some people say that, they think the CEO does those things. And, the observation is that comes from your culture. That's your team being innovative. And they're the ones responsible for sustainability and continuous improvement and scale. And, it sounds like you're taking an approach of how do you support them to do that? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's funny because I'm coaching my son's soccer team, and I'm trying to go get my certification. And the first thing they teach, and my kid is 10, and the first thing they teach you is during games, you stay out of the way. Don't tell them what to do, right? And the idea is that they need to be able to react to situations. And I think it feels like that class that I'm taking feels like something that I'd take for a CEO. Like you hired the right people, you have an amazing team, get out of their way, let them do what they do. And, a lot of times as the CEO now, I get bored, I want to go get in the weeds with my software team, because that's what I did for 17 years, but I just have to back off, take a trip to Costco or go to the bank or something. Because really you can't, it's just not, in my opinion, not a good idea to be there in the weeds with them.
No, Billy, I love that. One of the reasons I love doing these podcasts, I always learn so much. And first, I like the soccer coach story. And, I often think about, there's some new research that's fun research. It says that human beings make 35,000 decisions a day. Now, since they're asleep 8 hours, and, now you've got the balance of that, the other 16, half of it, they're probably at work. So that means they're probably making 10 to 15,000 decisions at work. And we know the world around us is changing really, really, really fast. And if we want to sustain, if we want to continuously improve, when we want to be creative, we really want those decisions they're making at work to continually advance our company. But often, just like the coaching example, if you're sitting there telling every kid what to do on every play, they're not doing any of that new creative, advancing kind of work. And I think we've mistrained a lot of our CEOs and our leaders in what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think you lose the creativity. You don't want robots. You want people, you put them in game-like situations and in practice, but when the lights are on, you got to let them respond, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to say it's easy, because I'm so trained in software engineering. That's where I want to be. As soon as we see a customer complain, about a bug or something we missed, I want to get in there. But all I am is a bottleneck at that point. And companies, you're not going to perform at your best if you have bottlenecks everywhere.
Well, one of the things you mentioned a couple of times is passion. And passion off for a lot of people comes from the business purpose. So when you think about Sites USA, what's the purpose behind Sites USA? What is it that excites your people and gets them going?
I think, every business needs people as partners that know technology. And this is something that I think I argue with a lot of people on this. Go hire an IT, get somebody on your payroll that knows technology. We're always trying to create something, a website, or make sure our data is secure, but a lot of times we cut corners there, right? And so I think that that's kind of where this all came from, is that businesses need people, right? And that's the customer service part of it. You call us, we're going to answer the phone. You're not going to get on a switchboard. We don't have bots everywhere. They need people, and we know technology. But then we've taken that and we've built software for a niche in commercial real estate and retail that has really helped a lot of companies build great communities. And so, when you think about it on the surface, okay, we make site selection software. No, that's not it. We're building communities all over the United States. And, you take a trip to New York and you see one of our customers on a skyscraper. You're like, yeah, we were part of that. And it's really cool stuff, and every community should be smart and built in a way that makes sense for everyone. And we have all the information right there to do it. And so I think that customer service, how many people are we going to help today? That gets me excited. I know it gets my team excited, even to the software engineering team. They made their own mission statement, and it talked about the customer. It's not about the software, it's the customer. What do they want? And so I think just being there to support these companies that are doing really cool things around the country is a lot of fun and exciting for me.
Yeah, it's interesting how different, just listening to you, how different I feel when you talk about building communities versus writing software. Yeah.
Well, and you've heard my description of our company for a long time, and it's evolved. And when you talk about, we build site selection software, blank stares, right? That's not exciting. But when you talk about the grocery stores that are out in rural Phoenix, they're the anchor to all these communities, and then the schools go in and the churches go in, like we were a part of that. And that's cool stuff.
Yeah. And it's continuously evolving. I can't imagine the questions you get, the ideas that come up in this. Well, I don't know if we're post-pandemic or not yet, but in this crazy time where all of a sudden people don't want to leave home, they don't want to drive to work, they don't even want to. Some of them don't want to go to restaurants yet. How all that's changing the community.
Yeah, and it's you see a lot of these shopping centers closing down, and what's happening is people are just getting more creative. And when they're creative, they need information, they need simple solutions, and that's where we come into play. The pandemic, it is changing things, but people still want to go to restaurants. They still want to go to a movie theater, they still want to be entertained. And so you see this transition from your typical Nordstrom anchored shopping center to more of a lifestyle center. You've got entertainment there, you've got restaurants, you've got condos on the second floor, and so things are definitely changing. And there's no better time than now for us to be a part of that, because when things change, people need help.
So when we talk about living a revenue culture, when you hire, and I know you keep your people a long time, so you don't have a huge turnover to hire. But when you do hire, how do you help them recognize those two parts of their responsibility? That yes, we have to make money, but this is really about a people first culture that's treating our clients the right way. How do you present that to them, or set the expectation, I guess?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm hoping that question comes up. I'm hoping they ask me some of those things. What is it? What excites you, right? And I think usually I'm brought in on the second interview once we've already gotten through the skill sets and make sure that fits. Then it's me coming in to make sure that they're the right fit for our team. And that's I get on my high horse and I talk about it, and that's really changed recently. It's just the way we talk about it, and it is more about those communities. And now that I get to see the whole thing, the whole picture, the whole company, it's easy to see that. And those are things that I could probably do a better job of relaying that information to my team to where that comes up before I get there. But it is obvious in interviews that we're discussing those things. And if you ask me some of those things, you're already, you have the advantage.
You just mentioned another thing that oftentimes is the kind of the enemy of a great culture, and that is not seeing the whole company. When people just focus on, the financial side or the sales side, you end up with these silos that, in effect compete with each other and aren't even paying attention to what's going on outside them. I know you've eliminated a lot of that, but how do you do it? And how do you keep the whole company, conscious of the company's purpose?
Yeah, I think we are guilty of having those silos. One thing we've done is we've created an open space in our business, in our office. Everybody can talk to. We had one holdout that wanted this wall up so he can kind of hide back there, and we took it down. And we want people to talk to one another. We want to know what, I want the programmers to know what the marketing team is doing. We moved our marketing team. They sit next to our sales team now, because you, as a marketer, you've got to hear the conversations that are on the phone. Another thing we've done is we created a little monthly series where one person a month comes in and just talks about something they're interested in. For 15 minutes, kind of, Vistage style. And that's been really fun, just to get to know people outside of the office. And I think just building rapport with one another is so crucial to being able to come together for that one thing, what that purpose is. Because if you have people that don't get along, it's never going to work. And so, disagreements are fine, but we have to respect one another. And I think building rapport is big. I always teach that with one-on-ones. Make sure you talk about something personal during a one-on-one. You're there to get to know them, and you learn a lot from those conversations.
I always get a charge. You are very good at using LinkedIn, and you post often pictures of your whole team, or at least as many are there at the moment, and everybody always looks like they're having fun. Whether it's Halloween or those kinds of activities, and it seems like as a team they enjoy each other.
Yeah, and I think maybe the old school thinking is those things are a waste of time, but not in today's world. I think that those things are crucial. You've got to do things. Just step away from the computer, get to know one another, and this goes back to the sports. Teams that get along, they're going to beat the talented ones. They're the ones that do things off the court, off the field. Those are the ones that are typically going to be on top at the end. And that's it. I would just say don't cut corners on that. I think that's very important. Do those fun things, do things as a group outside of the office.
Do you, I know you've just been in the owner role for a while, but have you yet seen where some of your staff is recruiting other staff because they love where they are and they want to bring other good people?
Yeah, I mean, that's happened since I've been here. I mean, that's a culture we've always had. Um, it's pretty rare that we hire somebody that someone didn't know already. I mean, there's been times where we had to go do that, but I mean, some of our best employees were just friends of someone else, somebody that's not even here anymore. And, it's when you have employees here that are proud to work here, staffing is not always an issue, so we've been lucky in that sense.
Well, yeah, you're lucky because you're doing the right things. But yeah, it's interesting. I talk about the cost of the chaos in the production of revenue, and people don't often sit down and look at the fact that if I have higher turnover, or it takes me longer to fill slots, or the people that fill the slots don't play well with others, or we could probably make a list of 50 things that add to the chaos, that add to cost, that make it harder to grow and harder to sustain and be creative. So when you talk about the fact that your team helps build the right team, that's a home run. That's what living a revenue culture is supposed to be about, that it starts to sustain itself. So
absolutely, it turnover's expensive, and every time it happens, you're taking a step backwards. And the quicker you can, well, if you can stop it from happening very often, which we've done a good job of that. But you've got to be able to recover quickly. And when you have a team that believes in what you're doing, it makes it that much easier.
So, what advice do you have for a new CEO coming into an organization? And, particularly, and obviously everybody knows they have to produce revenue. So it's more about, the question I'm asking is more about, how do you help them think about their team, their humans, and, aligning the humans to the corporate purpose? Do you have any suggestions or words of wisdom? Or
Yeah, am I allowed to make a plug for my favorite author?
Absolutely.
Pick up The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. It's a great one, and it talks about this thing. But I think for me, if you're a CEO that wants, just to create a space for people to succeed, I'm not looking at selling this place, in 2 years. So, this is an infinite thing for me. There will be an endpoint, but for now it's infinite. I want this thing to go on forever. So I think it's probably, look beyond the monthly metrics, the quarterly metrics, and think about your people. It's the people. Are they getting along? Does somebody not fit? You got to take care of that problem. When you hire, make sure it doesn't matter if they're the most skilled person. If they're not going to fit, don't do it. It's bigger than quarterly numbers. And I think the pandemic really showed that, because we could have looked at our monthly numbers and panicked, because when COVID started, all you have left are your people and your loyal customers. We weren't thinking of new customers when the pandemic started. We were thinking about taking care of our people and taking care of the customers that are there with us. And so I think, look beyond those metrics. And if you have metrics, make sure they make sense for the big picture, because I'd tell you, one metric I hate is monthly revenue, because especially in our business, because people pay early, they pay late. If you look at that, it's going to scare you. Look at retention. How many people are sticking around? How long have they been around? Those are the things that matter. But don't do it at the expense of your people. If you have good people, that comes first.
I love Simon Sinek as well, and I think his Infinite Game book was game changing. And he's so good at expressing the obvious and helping us, go, oh my gosh, why didn't I ever think of that? But in this revenue culture piece, organizations, every organization has a purpose. Whether they express it or whether they're even willing to share it or not, there's a purpose there someplace. The business didn't just materialize by accident. Somebody got up one day and said, I want to make a ton of money. Or somebody said, I want to help, create homes for low-income people. They did something to get started. And it really ends up, you got two sides to the equation. One side is, I want to make the most money possible in the shortest period of time. And, we look at that and describe that as a mercenary business. There's nothing wrong if you want to be a mercenary business, but when you step back and look at it, you're hiring mercenary employees for a short period of time. You're not expecting loyalty. You're not even expecting much teamwork. And you don't expect any of you will be together 5 years from now. And the same thing you get with customers. If you're a mercenary, you're really in a win-lose negotiation scenario with your customer, because your goal clearly is to make as much as you can, as quick as you can. And that doesn't mean you create good long-term customer relationships. That just means you ride a bubble, and when the bubble bursts, you go do something else. So you're spot on that you got to have a different set of metrics.
Yeah, I mean, if you're that type of CEO, I don't have any, that's a different ballgame than the one I'm playing. So I think that, you nailed it. I mean, a one-year customer is perfect for that type of person, that type of business, but it doesn't work for us. And the customers, they know it. They know, they're going to know early on, is this who they are? And that's something, that's a big picture thing. That's big picture strategy, is to build that reputation. And I think Sites USA has done a great job of building that over the years.
Yep. And it's that willingness to, when I started on that 35,000 decisions a day, you want your team to make, they have these little tiny decisions, but they make hundreds of them a day. You want them all going toward that big purpose you have. You want them all going toward that, make the community better. It's not about perpetuate yesterday's process or make the most money we can make in the short term. It's how do we build that community for the long term? And I may make 30 decisions today, all of them tiny, but they're all going in the right direction.
Yeah. And that, you talk about true north in the revenue game, and that serves, if you're going in that same direction, a lot of times that's a filter that that's going to help you make decisions, and going back to the soccer analogy, that's what you want. If your kids know, if they all know the overall plan, those little decisions they make hopefully are going in the direction of that plan. So
I love that. I'm going to use that soccer coach story.
Yeah,
that's really good, because having had a lot of coaches that wanted to make every decision for you in every game all the way from start to finish, I can appreciate how it just drags you down.
Yeah. And you become, like I said, you become robotic as a player and as an employee if you can't make your own decisions.
So as you look forward, and you've now been a CEO for months, what's the next 2 or 3 years? How do you think about those? I'm not going to ask you for detailed plans, because I don't think either of us believe you can have 3-year detailed plans today. But how do you think about those next 2 or 3 years?
I think that in the past, we've been guilty of making decisions without listening to the customer. And moving forward, that we're going to focus on that. We're not here to disrupt this industry. We've got a loyal following, and we need to be listening to the people that we already have, and we need to build the software that they ask for. And we react really well. I mean, we're as fast as anybody because we're a small company. We don't have to, we can make decisions. And so I just want to focus on those customers we have, because they really are the ones that are building software that will recruit. I mean, that'll bring in new people, and for us to try and act like we're the commercial real estate experts is foolish. We're not. We're software technology experts, and so we're going to let you tell us, as a customer, tell us what you want and we'll go do it. And so I don't expect anything huge as I look forward. I just think we're going to continue to get better and better and better, and that's maybe scary for our competition, but that, we play the slow and steady game, and we do that really well.
It's interesting, in this pandemic period, then I'm seeing you become that almost joined at the hip partner with your existing clients, where they don't have to try and replace your skill, your knowledge, your capabilities, because they got you.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper than putting experts on your payroll, and so, we're not taking care of everything technology related, but we're a partner in the site selection area, and that's a big part of commercial real estate, is where are we going to go next? And that a lot of decisions are made off of gut feel, but we are the data and the information that's going to support that gut feel, or so that, there's a big mix, and I don't think you'll ever get to a point where decisions are completely analytical. There's always going to be, the real estate broker that's been doing it forever, and he doesn't believe the data, but at least the data is there to help, go one way or the other.
Well, and you can correct me if I'm off base, but I think of the data you guys produce a lot like when somebody creates a valuation to buy or sell a company. And the valuation formula is just that, it's a formula. And somebody can override it or believe it either way. And you're just helping people make better decisions because there is good data in place, and then they get to do what they want with it.
That's exactly right. I mean, I just went through that with purchasing the company. The valuation was there, but that doesn't mean that, that's going to make the deal happen. It's just there to provide the information so that, I mean, you're foolish to make, $1 million decisions without doing your research, right? And so that's where we come in, and we're there to help you validate or tell you, no, don't do that site. That's another part of it. We're always talking about where to put a location, but where not to put a location. And that's where our information is, so useful.
So I got one last question for you. Now, I want you to go back 17 years. Go back to, I'm in Phoenix, I don't have a job, and I'm looking for one. So think about what advice you would give Billy 17 years ago about choosing a company to work for. Because as a CEO, we've talked about how important culture is and purpose. So what advice would you have for those people who might be the next Site USA employees, or the next employee for somebody else down the line?
Yeah, I think it's you can go the route of the Googles or the big companies, as a software engineer. But if you want, that's where you're going to get the resume builder and you're going to get the paycheck. But they might forget about you. And so, look for a place that's taking care of customers and has got that family atmosphere in the office. And that's the thing that's going to make you happy in the long run. It's not the thing that's going to get you to brag about your job with your buddies, but in the long run, when it's time to build a family and have soccer practice at night, that's the type of company you want, is one that's going to take the things outside of the office serious. It's you're spending half your time here and half your time at home. And so I think you've got to take care of both. You need both to be happy. And So that's probably what I would tell myself 17 years ago is, I mean, you're going to make the right choice if you go to Sites USA, because they're going to take care of you.
Okay, great. Well, Billy, this has been great. And is there anything you'd like to say, just to pass on, that you think is important for either the CEOs or the potential employees, or both, about living a revenue culture?
Yeah, I think, as you talk about all these things in the, the revenue game and revenue science, and, it's hard to implement the whole thing, but there's so many little bits and pieces that I've taken from you over the years. And, there's so many relevant things that come out of what you are teaching, that even if you pick a few of them to implement, it's going to do a world of difference for your business.
Well, great. Thank you very much. And this has been fun today. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I appreciate you joining us. And for those of you out there, come back again in 2 weeks when the next one comes. And Billy, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. This was a lot of fun.